Good morning. Welcome back to the readings of the projections of the astral body by Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward, Carrington. So we're midway down page 76 and we're starting with the chapter beginning the Astral Cable. Thank you very much for your support. Thank you for liking. Thank you for subscribing. I do appreciate you. And let's get started. The Astral Cable. Nearly every student of spirit phenomena professed to know that the astral cord is an elastic-like structure connecting the astral body with the physical, and this seems to be the extent of knowledge so far given to the world concerning the schematic astral organism. Such ignorance is not difficult to account for. On the one hand is the psychic experimenter who, if not capable of projecting himself, can only form his conclusions from the statements of others. On the other hand, most persons who do project do not maintain consciousness clearly, if at all. Some become possessed of temporary awareness at a distance from the physical body, and still others are so absorbed in the wonders met with that the thought of investigating causes never enters into their minds at the time. It is estimated that about 15,000 persons now living see more or less on the astral plane, and that about 50 persons can go out into that plane at will. Many times, while consciously projected, I have succeeded in intimately examining and observing the peculiar action of the astral cable. It is a sort of sideshow mystery, participating in the main act called projection. This vital structure is composed, so far as I am able to see, of the same material, or essence, as the astral body itself. Its erratic action always made a very profound impression upon me, and at times I was almost led to believe that it actually was intelligent. Where it comes from, on the outgoing of the phantom, where it disappears, when the phantom coincides, are two deep mysteries for me to fathom. Its elasticity is far beyond the imagination, and is not comparable to any material object in its stretching qualities. The nearest one can come, when trying to form a conception of the astral cord, is to compare it to an elastic cable, yet such a comparison does anything but justice to this truly living organ. The astral cord always stretches from one body to another, regardless of the space or distance between them. Cord activity range, page 77. The less space that lies between the two bodies, the greater is the thickness of the astral cable. The greater is its magnetic pull, and the more difficult to hold the stability of the phantom. When slightly out of coincidence, the cord is the diameter of a silver dollar. This is the maximum caliber of the cord itself. Yet the aura surrounding it gives the impression to the eye that it is at about 6 inches in thickness at this point. The diameter decreases in proportion to the increase of separation of the bodies, up to a given distance, where it is then at its minimum diameter, which it retains from there to infinity, its caliber then being about that of an ordinary sewing thread. From immediate separation to the distance when the astral cord assumes its minimum caliber, there is always much activity present in it. This distance is called the range of cord activity. I wished, naturally, to determine how far this range of cord activity extended, for it had an important bearing, I found, upon the projection of the astral body. So the very first conscious projection I made thereafter, I noted with extreme care the spot I occupied, as the cord reached its minimum thickness. When physically active again, I took the tape and measured the range of cord activity and found it to be 15 feet. For some time I thought I had the distance calculated correctly, but when I again tried to experiment, to verify the first finding, I met with a different result. This time it was but 8 feet. It was clear, then, that the range of the cord activity was variable, and after dwelling for almost a year upon the matter, I eventually discovered why the range of cord activity varied. I noticed that when I was not feeling as well as usual, the range of resistance of cord activity was less than when I was in a better physical condition. Repetition only strengthened this discovery. And I say again that the more one searches into this phenomenon of astral projection, the more certain one will become that material coordination is a powerful negative influencing factor in the result. The more healthy the subject, the more energy is stored in the condenser, the astral body, the stronger will be the flow of energy through the astral cable, if he succeeds in projecting at all, and the longer will be the cord activity range. The more energy that is condensed in the astral body, the tighter will that the body be bound to the physical counterpart. The more enervated the individual becomes, the less energy is stored in the condenser, the less tired on the physical, and the shorter will be the range of cord activity. And if a person becomes weakened to a very great extent, the astral cannot remain in the physical at all, and moves out, sometimes permanently. Then the doctor says he died because he didn't receive enough nourishment. Ooh, this is getting a bit deep here. I knew it would, but my goodness. So it is obvious that the range of cord activity varies as the health of the projecting individual. A few inches of separation of the bodies and the cable is about the size of a silver dollar regardless of the condition of health, but decrease in size is speedier in the case of the enervated individual. When in fair condition, physically, the cord decreases according to the distance of separation, somewhat as follows: at a few inches of the bodily separation, 1 3/4 inches, at 10 feet 3/4 of an inch, resembling a piece of garden hose. At 15 feet, approximately, it might be at its minimum thickness, holding this size to infinity. It is an appearance of a whitish-grey colour, and when greatly extended, is not unlike a long single strand of cobweb. From coincidence to the end of the cord activity range, there is always a double action taking place in the cord. That is, as far as one's eyes can determine. Yet I dare say that there are many activities present which are too subtle to even be seen by the consciously projected individual, even if he observes the cable at close range. One is a regular pulsating action. The others appears to be a slight expansion of contraction of the outstretched organ. Ostensibly, they are merged. There can be no doubt concerning the operations involved. The movement in the cord is an outward manifestation of a subtle, vital process. Mention has been made elsewhere of the distinction between what is termed the passing at the time of death and the projection of the astral body. This difference lies in the fact that the astral cord is intact, running from one body to the other during astral projection. The phantom body is the condenser of cosmic energy, the very energy you employ in moving about. This energy is the breath of life, omnipresent in every living thing. The Adam and Eve story is no doubt fiction, but the ancient writer hit upon the truth of the matter when he said, "And the Lord God formed man of the dust of the ground, and breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, and man became a living soul." Without this breath of life, man would really be nothing but the dust of the ground. The breath of life is the universal, the cosmic energy condensed in the astral body, which you are using every instant. You may think you are a living body, but you are, as Moses said, a living soul. It is the astral entity which is the real you. It is the universal energy that is the breath of life. But what has all this to do with the astral cable? Simply this: when the astral body is in coincidence, you are physically alive. When the astral body moves out of coincidence, you are physically dead, unless the astral cable running from the energetic body to the physical body is intact. That is the purpose of the astral line of force, to deliver the breath of life to the physical body, while the finer body is projected. Throughout exteriorization, the breathing and heartbeat of the material counterpart must be sustained, and when the phantom is within cord activity range, an outward manifestation of this action can actually be seen throughout the entire length of the cable. Have you ever suffered from a headache when regular pulsations could be felt in the back of the head, accepting pain? Such pulsing action is like that felt in the Such pulsatory action is like that felt in the medulla oblongata region of the exteriorized phantom. If the phantom is conscious at every beat of the heart, each throb of the heart can be felt in the astral. Each throb is expressed throughout the cable. Each throb produces a beat in the physical heart. All three are simultaneous. One can not only feel the heart's pulsations in the astral head, but he can feel them by touching the cable with his astral hand, just as you can feel your physical pulse with your physical hand. Excuse me. Each breath taken in the astral can be seen pulsing over the astral cord, and causes a duplicate breath to be taken in the insensible body. When consciously exteriorized, one can suspend his breath at will, just as he can while in coincidence. But this is not a wise thing to do, especially for the amateur. A physical congestion is liable to set in and cause death. I have tried the experiment many times of holding the breath while consciously projected, and within cord activity range, the instant it is suspended, the before-mentioned action of slight expansion and contraction ceases. In the physical cable, in the psychic cable, as it likewise does in the physical body, but while the respiration ceases, the regular pulsating action continues. A deep breath in the astral will produce an identical breath in the physical. A short one will produce a short one. A quick one will produce a quick one, etc. You breathe in the astral and your heart beats in the astral, just as it does when you're in coincidence. Your physical heart beats because within it the astral heart beats. It is the spirit that quickeneth. When exteriorization occurs, there is always a constant pushing and pulling sensation of the cable, which can be felt in a noticeable degree by the projector when within cord activity range. If you can imagine some mighty giant holding you by the back of the head with a steady grip at arm's length, pushing you slowly away from him, drawing you back toward him, moving you from side to side, yet always maintaining a steady hold upon your head, and in that very grip you feel a regular pulsation, then you can imagine how it feels to the conscious projector within cord activity range. This cord pressure varies according to the distance of separation. The nearer the bodies are to coincidence, the greater the pressure, or, as I might express it, the greater the space between the bodies, and the smaller the diameter of the cable, the less amount of resistance. This must be, or should be, held in mind by anyone contemplating projection, for it is difficult to accomplish much with the range of cord activity. Once you have advanced beyond it, however, you will be as free as a permanently detached phantom. There is but one way to combat this resistance, and this is by willful effort. Actually, to exert all your will to move away from the physical counterpart. It is my belief that in most of the experiments in projection, which are conducted by hypnotists, the phantom seldom is induced beyond cord activity range. We have seen how the breathing in the physical counterpart is controlled from the astral body, and how one can consciously interfere with this vital function. Conscious interference, I have found, will exercise a control over the cable resistance. So too will the heartbeat affect the cord resistance. The more calm the breathing, the less will be the cable pull. If conscious, strong, deep breaths are taken by the phantom, when within cord activity range, the pull on the cord will increase, often even to the point of drawing the astral entity toward or even into the physical. I have tried this, and I know it to be fact. On the other hand, the speedier and stronger the heartbeat, the greater the cord resistance. Although suspending the breath while consciously exteriorized will weaken the cable resistance, it is not advisable to practice it to enable one to get out of cord activity range, for, as I've pointed out before, the physical would become endangered for want of oxygen, as it is already in a weakened condition. The great point to be brought out, it is already in a weakened... The great point to be brought out is that emotion will increase cable pull and act detrimentally to the success of projection. Why? Merely because emotion increases the respiration and heartbeat. Suppose, for example, you should become consciously exteriorized in the astral body within cord activity range, and that fear should come over you. Your emotions would increase, the heartbeat and the breathing would be hastened. The physical would be more enlivened. The resistance in the cable would be greatly increased, and unless the factors favourable to the exteriorization balance this opposition, interiorization would begin. Okay, I'm going to read that part again because, it just didn't seem to blend together with the rest. Okay. Suppose, for example, you should become consciously exteriorized in the astral body within cord activity range, and that fear should come over you. Your emotions would increase, the heartbeat and the breathing would be hastened. The physical would be more enlivened. The resistance in the cable would greatly increase, and the other factors favourable to exteriorization balance this opposition. Interiorization would begin. Although the astral line of force can be likened to a rubber cable, it is in one sense unlike it. Suppose a rubber or elastic cable can be held at each end and pulled out. As the length increases, the diameter would increase, and the resistance would intensify. With the astral cable, as the length increases, the diameter decreases, but the resistance becomes less. The force working in the cord is not produced by it. The force itself remains mysterious. At times, the power working in the cable seems to be well governed, projecting the phantom steadily from the physical. And again, this power seems erratic, first forcing the astral body ahead, then quickly drawing it back, then throwing it to one side, then to the other side, etc. Now, at all times during projection, there are factors at work which are helpful, and factors which are opposed to the phenomenon, just like everything else in nature. When the positive factors overbalance the negative factors, projection progresses in an orderly and well-controlled manner. Sorry, my cat is treading all over my book. If the negative factors predominate while in coincidence, projection cannot be accomplished. If the negative factors begin to grow stronger while the phantom is projecting within cord activity range, stronger while the phantom is... They interfere... Sorry. I'm going to start that bit again. If the negative factors predominate while in coincidence, projection cannot be accomplished. If the negative factors begin to grow stronger while the phantom is projecting within cord activity range, they interfere with the orderly procedure. And although these two opposing forces are always present, the helpful influences must necessarily be slightly greater than the opposing ones, or outward advancement will cease. The force working in the astral cable will govern itself according to the balance of positive and negative factors, which are always present. Remember, it is not the phantom which moves itself away from the physical or back into the physical. It is the subconscious force. The conscious phantom, it seems as though the cable were actually intelligent. This is the subconscious force working in it. This force depends upon the balance of factors, positive and negative. When these opposing factors are almost equally balanced, and when the phantom has reached a distance of separation, say 6 feet, there will be instability of the body and swaying from side to side, and forward and backward. You have already learned how emotion will increase the pull of the astral cord, and how placidity will decrease it. It is really very seldom that these opposing factors do not conflict during a projection. Sounds, like emotions, will increase the tension in the cord, so the need of quiet is obvious. Okay, I'm going to leave it there for today, just because I've started to stutter again. So we're midway down page 82, an interiorization caused by a noise. And we will start there tomorrow. Thank you very much. I appreciate you. Goodbye.